Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossi. With me this week are two fantastic co-hosts, Joe Perez and Liz Harper. We're going to just jump right into some news stories. Joe, there's a new Hearthstone Mercenaries mode thing, and I'd like you to talk to us about
Oh,
it.
absolutely. I mean, no. Liz, this is your time to shine.
I was from the
yeah.
moment that Liz emailed and saying, "Oh, you guys can get a drink." I was like, I almost made that the joke be that I was going to do it, but then I'm like, no, me trying to foist it off on Joe is even funnier.
Yeah.
But no, Liz, explain to us, because quite frankly, I have not been keeping up. What's going on with the mercenaries in Hearthstone? I'm interested because I really want to know if I want to try and play this.
Okay, so Mercenaries, really, it strikes me as an RPG. You are collecting these mercenary heroes and you're leveling them up and you're putting them in these tactical battles where it's like each round you decide which skills to use and who you're attacking, and it's all a turn-based thing. So you level them up, you gear them up, all of this stuff. You go on different missions that you choose to do, or you can do PvP against other players. And it's a little RPG built inside of Hearthstone. So it's launching in 2 weeks. And one thing Blizzard has been super unclear about is, what does it cost? What do I need to spend money? Is it free? What do I get out of spending money? And the thing is, Mercenaries doesn't really use cards, and most of the time when you buy packs in Hearthstone, you're getting a pack of cards. And Mercenaries, there really aren't cards. You have heroes that you level up by playing, or you give them gear, and just like all of these things. And it was Blizzard's messaging on this was just not good. They weren't clear about what was going on. And last week we got a little more clarity on what you would get by paying money. And they call them packs, like a card pack, except they're not really cards, so I don't know how that works. But the packs are going to cost the same thing Hearthstone packs cost, which is about $1.50 each, or if you buy them in larger bundles, about $1 each. Each pack, and it's just like the same. Each pack, it's just like the Hearthstone pack. Each pack contains a number of things. One thing that's rare or higher. It has the same bad luck protection Hearthstone packs have. So if you haven't gotten super rare stuff, you're going to be more likely to get the rarer stuff. And over, X number of packs, you're going to get, one legendary or epic or whatever. But like the packs can contain heroes, your mercenary heroes, or they can contain alternate skins for those heroes, or they can contain coins, which you can use to buy things, I believe, and they can contain gear. So it's like, but you're gonna have, just by playing through the intro, you're gonna have a team that you can play with. You don't need to spend gold, and I think that's kind of the biggest problem, is because we don't have the game yet. It's just not really clear how important it is to have these packs. And even now that we kind of have a better look at what's in these packs, it's still not really clear because we haven't gotten our hands on the game and we don't know how important any of these things are. So yeah, it's going to be released in about 2 weeks, middle of October. And we're going to find out. Also, if you are a World of Warcraft player with a 6-month subscription, one of the things they are bundling in with that 6-month subscription is 15 Mercenaries packs when Mercenaries comes out. So you'll get something. If you have that 6-month subscription, you will get some packs. You can go and play and check it out.
Okay. I really legitimately don't know what to say to that, because I'm not gonna lie, I have barely looked at Hearthstone since the last time we had a guest on to talk about Hearthstone, which I think was when I want to say it was Red. Was it Red that came on to talk about it?
Yeah, it was Red.
Yeah, I think so.
So like it's been a while, and I don't know, like it just seems like this is kind of confusing to what they're trying to do. So like I don't feel very good about it.
I think the most confusing thing about Hearthstone Mercenaries is that it is part of Hearthstone when it is something completely different from Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, there aren't any cards. You have mercenary heroes and gear and stuff, but there are not cards. It is no longer a card game. Exactly. It's a little RPG that they've built inside of Hearthstone. And I think calling it Hearthstone is kind of confusing, really.
Yeah, I can see that because I'll be up front. After hearing you explain it, I felt more confused about what it was.
Right?
But at the same time, I do think it sounds interesting and it's an interesting departure. So I am still interested in it. Like I might pick it up just because if it is mostly an RP, if it basically is just a stripped down tactical RPG, then I could probably play it. You know,
Yeah.
Whereas I'm completely behind. I'm completely lost at card games. I've always been terrible at them. I'm the guy that played Magic the Gathering, got wiped out, and twice I'm like, okay, I know I have to tap some lands. That's basically it. So yeah, I'm interested. I am interested in finding out what this ends up being like. But speaking of stuff coming out, we talked about it a little bit on the pre-show, but we'll talk about it now too because it's the site and that's our job. Diablo 2 Resurrected came out last week. I don't know how many people have picked this game up. I have not been paying attention to stuff like that. But I'll tell you one thing. Just in terms of like Blizzard's track record of putting out remastered versions of their games, this is now the gold standard. This is the best one they've ever done by a huge margin.
Yep.
The best previously was the StarCraft one, the original StarCraft refurb, which was bare bones. I mean, it worked. It looked good, but it was basically just bare bones refurb. This one, I think it is pretty obvious that they looked at the way that they fell down on Warcraft 3 Reforged and realized, oh, people really wanted this. They didn't want what we did. We didn't tell them what we were doing, and so they got the impression it was going to be this. Well, this time we'd better make it this. And that's what this is. It is exactly the same gameplay. Like there is no difference. I can't think of anything.
That's not true. Automatic gold pickup.
Yeah, but that's not gameplay. That's stuff like that eases up. But I'm talking about when you go out and you play your character. Like when you are using your abilities and hitting things, when you're killing things, it plays the same. You're totally right about the stash being in.
There's a lot of quality of life stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but it isn't. It never feels like what am I doing that says it's Diablo 2, but it's not. I have yet to have that experience.
I would agree.
Maybe it is for other people. I know, Liz, you're playing as Amazon.
Yep.
I feel there is absolutely no mystery to what I'm playing. Yeah. Of course, a paladin. We all knew this. No, that's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. Everybody knows. Joe, what are you playing?
What do you think I'm playing? I'm curious. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm playing. So, I'm trying to remember how to play Fury Druid.
Yeah. So none of us are the kind of people who like to go into wild alternate character, excursions while playing Diablo 2. We have a comfort zone and we like it. Okay. But that actually makes this really challenging as a design thing because you need people to feel when you pick up Diablo 2 Resurrected, you need to feel like you are playing the same character, the same classes. It needs to feel like the same game. And I think that they absolutely wrecked that. They did amazing on that. And at the same time, though, it is so much prettier. And the fact that it is running the original, it's running on the original Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And yet it looks so much nicer. Like what was it? I think it was you or Corey, Liz, who pointed out to me. It's like, oh yeah, and there's a decapitated guy over here in this place. I'm like, I didn't know that was a decapitated guy. It's like I couldn't tell what that lump was. Now, yeah, there he is, nice and dead. There's his head. It's over there. Yeah, I can see that now. Maybe I didn't want to. But so yeah, it is. So I'm gonna let you guys go on a bit about it before we move on to something else. Which one of you wants to go first?
Well, let's go.
I think one of the most interesting things is actually that you can press a button and go back to the original Diablo 2 graphics. Mm-hmm. And then you just press the button and go back, and you can just like go back and forth repeatedly thinking like, wow, did we ever play something that was just like my character is like 20 pixels maybe? And it's just wild to be able to do that switch back and forth and just see like, whoa, because they are very much the same and very much different at the same time. And I think they've done a really good job of capturing the original experience, but making it better and making it prettier and making it just smoother. but not changing a lot of things, just kind of smoothing out a few things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about it kind of as a joke sometimes when we're talking about World of Warcraft Classic, the whole some changes thing. But I think that really worked out here. Like, they made some changes, very few, but some. Like the whole graphical overhaul, of course, and the new cinematics, which are just astonishing. But the fact that they put in the stash, the fact that they put in Xbox, they put in controller support because they're putting it on consoles. But the controller support's there for the PC version as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the original Diablo 2 had any kind of controller support. I don't think it did.
No, it didn't. It did not.
Yeah, but I've been playing it with my controller.
Which is funny because Diablo 1 did.
Yeah, it did. I know, because I played that on a controller. I've been playing Diablo 2 on a controller on my PC.
Yeah, and I've been hearing from a lot of people that's very, very good. Like, I'm impressed with here.
It's better than playing with a mouse. I will say Go ahead, Liz. I'm sorry.
I've purely been playing on console. I've been playing on PlayStation. I didn't even pick it up for PC.
And you're using a controller, and it plays really great, right?
I
think that's why, honestly,
does.
Diablo 3 on consoles was such a revelation for a very similar reason. This game feels like it was designed with controllers in mind.
But I think it's just the kind of the way that it's
great.
It's just the way it's set up, right? Like it lends itself really well to action RPGs of any speed, really, because limited buttons, limited actives, enough triggers to sort of get to where you need to go or to do your hotkeys, and you're done and you're off and running. And like Diablo 1 was a very methodical, like very slow plotting adventure, right? There wasn't even a run button back then. Like, you walked through the dungeon. And even with its controller, yeah, that made sense because you were kind of going in isometric cardinal directions, and that was kind of it. That's all you did. But with Diablo 2, it was faster than Diablo 1, still slower than Diablo 3, but it lent itself well to sort of that multi-axis movement because
a blue hedgehog on Ritalin in a rock tumbler is slower than Diablo 3.
Yes.
Come on.
Fair. I cannot argue with that. But it is fascinating to see like how well the joysticks work with it, really. And that's what I'm hearing from all of the people I know. It's that the joystick is what makes all the difference for the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's because Diablo 2 on a computer pleases a lot of clicking. It's very much
mice. Absolutely killed mice. Using
the controller, it's much less stressful. Less stressful on your hands. It's less stressful on the controller. The controller just seems to flow around. There's a few things that are a little weird, like the way leap works and so forth, but overall, yeah. And in terms of like the encounter design, this is something I wanted to talk about for a while, because whilst I am on paper as thinking Diablo 3 is the superior game, and I still think that, I did miss the encounter design of Diablo 2. And Diablo 2 gets you to it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You get Bloodraven right up front. She is not very far away. You get Bloodraven very close, and then Andariel's not that much further away. And the 1-2 punch of Bloodraven and Andariel it's like I remember reading a webcomic years ago, and I don't remember who it was. I think it was Penny Arcade talking about how when you played Mass Effect, they just take you to the pool and throw you in. They're like, here, swim forever. Diablo 2 is actually surprisingly good at educating you about what you are expected to do in a Diablo game by just gradually ramping up the difficulty as you're playing it. And Bloodraven is the first time that it actually goes, okay, what have you learned? Show us what you've learned. Here's Bloodraven.
Haha, joke's on you, game. I learned how to die.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And it just really, it kind of sets the expectation, and it really does, it delivers. I almost want to say Bloodraven is one of the most, it's stripped down, obviously, because it's an early fight, but it's almost perfect as a Diablo fight. It is exactly, you're going to need all these reflexes to get through this, and it works really well on the controller, by the way. The controllers are great for boss fights. I honestly will tell you, if you have the ability to play Diablo 2 Resurrected on a controller, you should seriously consider it. It is really good. Anything else either one of you want to talk about before we move on to something else?
No,
I love this game. That's about it.
It's everything that I remember, and it's one of those things where I'm very happy to be playing it again quite a bit. Yeah,
it is one of the best examples of a game retaining its heart while doing one of these things that I've ever seen. It is just, And it is visually stunning. I mean, the actual gameplay itself, they didn't try to like make it, it still looks like Diablo 2. It's just better. But the cinematics, oh my God, I don't know that I could talk enough about them. Getting to see Tyrael being Tyrael in a cinematic, and the fight with Diablo in the tomb, it's just, wow, okay. Or previously Marius, you kind of always felt like Marius was just kind of a bit of a whiner.
Mm-hmm.
When he went on about how he couldn't go in the portal. And then you see this new cinematic when Diablo is like Diabloing out. You're like, yeah, no wonder he couldn't go in the portal. I'm surprised he wasn't sitting there in a puddle of his own urine, because I don't want to go anywhere near it, and I'm watching a video game. I'm not, what, Tyrael, what were you thinking? Yeah, go through this portal into madness, Marius. Yeah, this was possibly the worst decision anybody has ever made. And it's just so well realized. I think all the cinematics, because they were smart and they preserved the voice lines. But yeah, so I think we've all said that. I've gushed enough. We will now talk about Transmog as is proper, because this has a kind of a lucky accident. But Liz had put in a post saying, "Hey, someone write about Transmog restrictions on holiday items." And I was writing that post, and then I realized that this year is the 10th anniversary of Transmog in World of Warcraft. It was introduced on November 29th, 2011, during Cataclysm. And that got me thinking about the fact that over the past 10 years, we have seen a lot of change to Transmog. We've seen, the wardrobe system get introduced. We've seen item restrictions get lifted. We've seen that the stream I'm on is making my character shake randomly for no reason at odd moments. That's got nothing to do with it. But one of the things we still have are like these holiday restrictions. And the reason that I think they should be lifted is ultimately they are incredibly inconsistent. For example, I can transmog to the Headless Horseman helmet anytime I want.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hat. I can wear it anytime I want. I can transmog any of my helmets to it. But if I want to wear a flower crown, I have to do some quests to unlock them. And that's okay. That's a little weird, but not too bad. But if I want to wear the Mantle of Flame from the Fire Festival, I can't unless it's Fire Festival time.
Are you physically put them on and remove the armor you were wearing?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the inconsistency of this is one of the reasons that I really think it has to change, because consistency is sometimes called the hobgoblin of little minds, but when it comes to role-playing game systems, it's very necessary. You need to know what the rules are.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Go ahead. Sorry.
I do want you guys to talk about it, because I think we already know what I think. And I think you're both going to agree with me, which gives me a massive dopamine hit, and I'm super happy about it. So go.
My 2 copper, as far as this goes, I honestly think that the days of solid reasoning on why it was turned aside are no more. There's no reason to have it in. Straight up. Just, they used to argue that, they were restricted with transmog so that in the heat of battle in PvP, and I remember this being an answer that was given at a BlizzCon, that it was necessary to have the transmog be restricted so that in the heat of battle, you could see exactly what you were facing, and it was the only way to be fair to PvP. That stopped being relevant or even viable as an excuse years ago. And I mean, I don't remember how many years ago now. It's just because there's just too many pieces of gear. And honestly, the only thing people care about is what is that class and what is that spec I'm about to be fighting. That's it. And if you really wanted to really impose any sort of restrictions, congratulations. Make it so you can't transmog in PvP arenas or battlegrounds. But it's at this point, the restrictions are kind of boring. Let me put my character in whatever weird, wacky stuff I want at this point. If I want to run around on my, little fox shaman and have like the Headless Horseman's helmet on, just freaking let me do it. Like, I think maybe that might be a little bit too extreme of like a different armor type or whatever. Sure. But honestly, the restrictions are just goofy at this point. They serve no purpose. Like the fact that my shaman can't transmog into any of my hunter's mail gear, it's still mail gear. Let me wear it, please. All right, go ahead, Liz. Your turn.
I think the original point of like the holiday stuff being holiday only is to make the holidays feel like special and exciting. And
because they haven't been updated in a decade.
Yeah, I have 2 arguments against this. One, it has been so long since there were any significant updates to holidays. I mean, they usually come in once every year or two and maybe do a little tweak here, a tweak there, but these have been the same for so long. It's not exciting. It's not exciting to have a holiday where it's like, okay, the most exciting thing about this holiday is you can transmog these fiery shoulders. That's not fun. It's not fun. This does not add fun to the holiday, and it takes fun away from the rest of the year. And I don't think that's necessary. And then, as Matt said, the rules are so inconsistent that it's like you need a rule book to understand what you can do here. Like, I can transmog the ruby sunglasses now. You didn't used to be able to transmog those for whatever reason, but now you can transmog them. But there are the bronze tinted sunglasses that are associated with the anniversary event that you can only transmog during the anniversary event. So why is any of this?
Yeah, if you're going to have...
So I think all the...
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there.
I think all of the logic that was originally behind it doesn't work as well as it used to. And customization is just so important. And I think maybe Blizzard kind of has always sort of underestimated how important it is to players to look really cool. Like, if I go into a fight and have to equip a new piece of armor and it doesn't match my transmog, it's like, nope, we gotta stop. I gotta pull out the yak. I gotta change this because I can't look this bad.
We've done that in the middle of a raid before. We absolutely have taken a transmog break.
Yeah.
I will put up right now. This is a reason I've said this. The best raid was always Throne of Thunder, because Throne of Thunder had a huge patch in the middle where I could get on my yak and everybody could transmog the gear they'd gotten up to that point. Just before we'd go in for the Twin Imperials, who are now called that, weren't called that at the time, but now they are. We would always stop, and everyone's like, "Does anyone have the transmog mount?" And obviously, I've done. Everyone be like, "Yeah, Rossi does." I'd be like, "How do you guys know I have it?" "Oh, right, because I always get on it all the time." And I would pop it up and they would transmog. And that was, to me, it is very important. It is important enough that I will run out of I will run out of this raid right now. I will hearth if I have to get on my mount and transmog, and you all can summon me back. But I am not wearing this. This thing is atrocious. It does not match my gear. And I think I said it in the post. One of the things about transmog is that at this point, as much as they've added in a lot of new customization options, and those options are great, and I really support them, those options are often hidden by your gear. And transmog is the only way. Like right now, for instance, I'm currently standing around on beefy McShirtless Draenei, because why wouldn't you? Look at this dude. This dude is super ripped. I would wander around shirtless all the time if I was that ripped. Heck, I wander around shirtless all the time as it is. And I'm not that ripped. But in order to see my character, like if I had a cool tattoo, like a light forged with the cool tattoos, in order to see that, you have to transmog their chest plate off.
Same with Nightborn.
Yeah, with the Nightborn and their tattoos. There's a lot of customization options that were put in, like the facial scarring and all that. You need transmog to make that visible. If you want, transmog is the keystone and the corner piece of customization in World of Warcraft, because what you're wearing is going to say as much about your character and what they look like as just them themselves. Like this gear that I've got on, and the first thing that someone said about it in our chat was, "Where are those shoulders from?" And people want to know where the shoulders are from. Sometimes the shoulders are from a gigantic flaming yak person, and he's terrible, and we hate him. We hate him a lot because he won't give us the shoulders.
I'm sensing a lot of pent-up aggression.
There's nothing pent up about this aggression. There's no passive aggression. This is straight up aggression. But I really feel like this is something that World of Warcraft has backed into. Like it's almost like no one realized just how useful this is. How it can be, how you can use it to customize your character. The players understand it. That's what the players are doing with it. It feels sometimes like the devs don't get, if you're really into this, you're really into this. If you're not into it at all, it doesn't matter to you at all.
I'm not going to say that the devs don't get it, because I mean, they play and
no, they play. I think they get it. That they know more about the game than I do. They understand the game more than I ever will.
I think it boils down to a level of effort, though.
Yeah.
And I think that, we're saying all this, right? And we often say this, we're not the ones making the game or making the code changes. And I often talk about how spaghetti some of the code definitely still is in this game. Maybe removing some of those restrictions will break Yogg-Saron again. Who knows? But it is something that I really do hope that they look into. And we've already seen that they're starting to add more features into it, like the asymmetrical stuff. And I would love to see that expand into maybe taking a look at some of these restrictions that they've had before and see what else they can lift.
Well, it's like I pointed out when I wrote the post that all the changes they've made, I've loved all of them, and it's made me greedy for more. And that's the truth. I've already been given an incredible amount since compare Transmog when it came out to where it is now.
Oh yeah,
the wardrobe system. The wardrobe system by itself is a huge upgrade. I don't have to have all these pieces in my void storage anymore if I want to use them in Transmog. Do you remember that? That's why void storage really exists.
Yep.
Because you couldn't you couldn't have any bank space if you wanted to use Transmog. So they have done an amazing job over the years, but I do feel like there's a continuous slight underestimation of how important this is to people.
And I think it would drive player engagement too. Like this is one of those things where like it's a buzzword, and for a lot of people it means absolutely nothing. But everything that game companies try to do, especially if they're an MMO, is they want people to play their game. They want people in their game longer, right? The longer you're in the game, the more likely you are to spend money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can go down that rabbit hole, but ultimately, if they really want something that will make a lot of players spend more time in the game, Transmog is one of those things. Like, it is straight up, people will spend hours farming gear. They will spend hours putting together the perfect outfit. Cosmetic stuff in this game drives, in my opinion, way more player engagement than I think anybody really wants to admit. And I would love to see something that maybe acknowledges that with Transmog by doing some of this stuff, like lifting some of these restrictions and making it more viable for us to just kind of, like we talked about in the pre-show, character creation is a big important thing. And World of Warcraft has some of the best character creation out there, and it keeps getting better as they add more customization. But once you're in the game, a lot of that cool customization is just gone. Like the tattoos, the little scars, and all the little things that like your character can't show because you just can't wear that one piece of gear that shows it off the right? So I don't know. Like, we've been talking about it for a while. We could probably have the entire show be nothing but Transmog, and it is Rossi sort of driving the bus. So
no,
I do want to add one note about Transmog, which is that I think part of the problem and why this has been like a long process to like get new options with Transmog, maybe it isn't so much that the devs don't understand how much we care about Transmog necessarily, but that wasn't the game they were planning to make when they started making World of Warcraft. This is a really cool RPG, and you're going to fight dragons and fight each other, and you're going to do all these cool things. And maybe they didn't expect people to like really get so attached to their characters and want to play dress up. Like, I can spend hours just playing dress up with my character.
Look, I decided that this is going to be Barbie Horse Adventures, and I stand by my decision.
Hey, it's Secrets of the Magic Crystal. Thank you very much.
But I think, certainly a lot of dev efforts are like into making what they see as the core of the game. But there are these other things that have turned out to be really important to players that are maybe not core gameplay. And it's kind of been a struggle or a slow process to say, we want more of this.
Well, I also think Joe's right in that there's also the not only is there the technical limitations, but there's also the fact that the game has finite resources. You can't make every cool thing you want.
It's the runway thing. You only get so many things you can work on in a short period of time.
And I've always said one of my favorite systems in the game is pet battles, which I don't play and have never played and have no interest in and can completely ignore. And that's why I love that system, because it is perfect in that it is designed exactly for the people that want to do it. And it costs people who don't want to do it absolutely nothing, except sometimes I'm forced to run a dungeon with my wife because a pet drops there. That's it. And that's my wife. That's not Blizzard. And that's the thing about Transmog. If you don't care about Transmog, nothing in Transmog affects you. It has nothing to do with you if you don't want it. This is something you can leave on the ground and never pick up. And the best part is, if you don't care about Transmog at all, you just simply play the game and get drops from time to time. If you decide later you like Transmog, all that stuff you got will be in your wardrobe now, and you can pick up with some stuff in there. My hunter has a decent amount of transmog gear, not because I like playing hunters all that much, just because as I leveled my hunter up, stuff dropped, I got it, so now it's in there. And I really think that this is something about transmog that I love, that idea that it adds to people who want it, who want to embrace it, but it does not required. You don't ever have to do it. I've seen a lot of people who could care less about it, and that's great. They don't have to care about it. My two big problems are the restrictions and the cost. I feel like transmog is a gold sink, but it's only a gold sink for people who care about transmog, and that's a problem for me. But
it's also gold sink, something we talked about in the pre-show about character creators not having great lighting all the time, and you not getting looks the way you think you're getting. Transmog is the same way. If you transmog, it's specific, like the lighting on your character when you're doing transmog is the lighting in the area, or a slightly modified version of that lighting. So sometimes you transmog and then you get out into like a brightly lit area and you're like, oh no. And you run right back and spend another 500 gold fixing your mistakes.
I would absolutely pretend that that's not true in my case, except that everybody who knows me would think, oh, Rossi, what about that time that you stopped the raid 3 times because you didn't like the way your weapon looked in this lighting? And I'd be like, you're right. But we should probably move on to the least happy news thing of the day. I actually wasn't even sure I wanted to talk about it, but I kind of do now, so... All right. Here's the basics. The Activision Blizzard lawsuit, I don't even know. It's beyond that at this point. It's multiple lawsuits. It's all over the place. The workplace harassment issues have continued. The management still has not addressed the employee concerns in any way, shape, or form. I think we're up to 64 days.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We're in the 2-month range.
Well, you did a post on the 20th, I think, saying it had been like 54 days. Or something, and it's been 8 days since, so I think 62. All right, but I think yesterday or the day before, Activision Blizzard reached a $18 million settlement with the U.S. government's Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and as I think I saw several people say on Twitter and in other places, $18 million for Activision Blizzard is like, I think, 9 hours of profit generation. It is literally just 9 hours of that company's existence has, and that's what the fine is. That's what the settlement they have negotiated is.
It's not a fine. It's an $18 million fund for the
It's
employees.
a settlement.
It's not a fine.
No, it's not a fine. It is a settlement. That's why I said settlement. They're in order to settle the case, they are creating this fund, and the fund is underwhelming. Like I said, $18 million for AB it's like if someone was punishing you for something you'd done, if you were like agreeing, okay, yeah, I did wrong and I'm going to fix it, and the equivalent of like 9 hours of community service.
It's worse the more you read about it too, because like it's not just like 18 million for like recent complaints or anything like that. This is a fund which ultimately goes to pennies for I think 16 all employees from 2016 on that have experienced anything are eligible for the fund. So like this is nothing. It's I'm insulted on behalf of the people that have to go through this stuff, because
18 million sounds like a really big number, but if you break it down, this is just the tiniest portion of what Activision Blizzard makes. And when you spread that out over every employee who might have dealt with sexual harassment and discrimination and everything else, that's not going to be a lot. I think I read a number earlier that said if you are an individual making $50,000 a year, that the settlement Activision Blizzard is setting up would be the equivalent of you getting $100.
Yep. And not only that,
so this is like a minuscule amount of money for them.
This is like when you get your Christmas bonus and it's like a $10 Starbucks card.
to give you guys an idea too, like, and this is a number that was thrown around, but it is relevant. Bobby Kotick, who is named in these lawsuits, Mike, is on course to take home $154 million bonus. 154 million. Employees are getting 18 million. We harp on it, but this is not fair. This isn't even close to fair. And we knew that it wasn't going to be fair going into it, but it's just appalling. And the other thing too is I'm seeing notifications from people who are getting the forms to get their settlement out of that fund. You have to sign away your right to grievance. So if you accept the money from the fund, well, you accept that that's good enough apology for you, and you can't pursue anything else for anything that happened to you previously. And I don't know if that includes anything going forward, but at least all the previous stuff, you wipe your hands of it because you got the equivalent of $100 bonus check. Like that
It is important. I think it is important to note that this does not settle their lawsuit with the state of California.
It doesn't settle the SEC either.
Yeah.
It doesn't deal with the SEC
stuff, and it doesn't deal with their the lawsuit from the stockholders. They still have a lot of legal problems to work through that may hopefully result in some kind of redress for employees that is less underwhelming.
And hopefully doesn't have them trying to sign away their right to pursue legal means.
Yeah, let's be upfront. This is a standard thing that companies do.
Mm-hmm.
Is they put out what sounds like a reasonably like a large settlement until you actually break it all down, and they use it to basically immunize themselves against further meaningful steps. This is almost like, in terms of what this is attempting to do, they are attempting to inoculate themselves against future damage. They're taking a hit now. It's an extremely small hit. It is, like I said before, there's a reason I made this point. This is the equivalent of 9 hours of operation for Activision Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a work day for the company. They're putting aside one work day to try and not cover up more, because cover up they've already done the cover up. The cover up has already happened and failed. This is their attempt to cover their own butts by doing this. And I understand that that's how capitalism works. I understand that that's how boards of directors operate, but it is insufficient. And that's why we're bringing it up again. And we know we've been bringing this up every show. We get it.
We're tired of talking about it, but we're going to keep doing it.
It is, if this settlement were $180 million, it would be insufficient because it wouldn't address the issue. It's an attempt to buy your way out of it. Now, it doesn't fix that people, women and people of various oppressed and minority communities aren't getting treated fairly as employees. That's the real issue. You want a safe workplace where you can just go in and work and not have to worry about, is someone going to hit on me? And then if I say no, they will spend the next 6 years ruining my career. Is someone going to come into the changing room while I'm trying to feed and breastfeed my baby and stay there? These are issues that sometimes it isn't enough it's not the money. It's not the expense. It's not necessarily going to cost them anymore. It's just something that they don't want to do. They don't want to admit any culpability. They don't want to set themselves up to have to spend money to make these programs fair and keep them that way. And you have to keep bringing it up, even though it feels ridiculous. It feels ridiculous that I'm sitting here talking about an $18 million settlement between one of the largest game companies in the world and the largest government in world history. But here we are. $18 million on this scale when your company has got like an $8 billion valuation it's nothing. So, yeah. Anything from either of you before we move on to something like less horrible?
I mean, one day I look forward to waking up and not being that meme from Star Trek where Picard just goes damage report. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to move on to doing some emails and some questions. If you have a question for the show, you can send it to podcast@blizzardwatch.com with the subject line podcast or Blizzard Watch. Or you can hit our Discord. We've got the Patron Q&A podcast questions channel, which, if you're a patron, you can ask a question there and we look at them first because that's the deal we made with you guys. That's the way we like to thank you for supporting the site and all we do here. But if you're not a patron, because, let's face it, we're living in that dog in the fiery room meme at every moment of our lives saying, yeah, this is fine. So if you can't afford it, we understand. You can use the Q questions channel and ask questions there, and we do look there too. And I'm going to point out, it's a really good time to ask questions because we're getting towards the end of the year and stuff's slowing down. So hopefully you guys feel like asking some questions. The first question I want Joe to read, and I want you to read the part up front, Joe.
I refuse.
Very well. Then I will read it for you in your voice. I can't do your.
I was gonna say. Okay, so for Blizzard Watch, Joe, keep your hands off. I didn't touch it. Hey all, is there anything new in Brewfest this year? I finished it 5 years ago and have no reason to go back. Thank you, Suggle Kitten. I don't think there is.
No,
Nope.
there isn't. I think they just every year they just upgrade the trinkets to being like okay ones. That's basically it.
Yeah.
We were talking about this with the Transmog thing. This is an example of content that, the trade-off is if you update it too often, you're wasting resources. If you don't update it enough, no one wants to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
They updated it a few years ago when Dark Iron Dwarves became an allied race. They think they changed some of the stuff there because now you're allies with these people that you were previously fighting, and that was kind of the point of the holiday. But it wasn't like an overhaul or anything, so it's getting kind of stale.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I think we're going back to like 6 or 7 years ago. It's Mists of Pandaria time when I got the Kodo on my Alliance characters, the Brewfest Kodo, and I was super excited. And that was the last time I ever did it because there's nothing for me now. And yeah, that's how these things work from time to time. Maybe I should just be grateful that I don't have to go back. But at the same time, it does feel weird to me that it's like people are like, hey, can you come tank this Brewfest? And it's like, it's not me doing it because I want to. It's me being a friend. It's me being helping them out because they want to just run it and get it over with and not wait in a queue for half an hour.
I mean, it also feels a little weird because I remember like looking forward to the holidays because, getting the mount or doing the fun things. Nothing makes me feel quite as old in this game as realizing how much the holidays haven't changed because they used to be cool. And I remember when they added them and, they were brand new and shiny and they're just kind of not anymore. I've done them all. I've done everything for all of them. I have given up on the mounts for most of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's really no reason to go back. I mean, and I understand it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to keep updating holidays or putting new holidays in or things like that. But even then, it's just a little sad to me that it's not as shiny as it once was.
My advice to you is if you finished it 5 years ago, I can't think of any reason to go back to Brewfest. Liz?
I can't think of any reason to go back either. I mean, we talked a few weeks ago about how like making little changes to the world as the game progresses, even if it's like, okay, this NPC is walking down a different street now, or they have some little chats over here. Even doing something like that could make the world feel more lively and like it's progressing. And even like some little changes every year to kind of freshen this up and dust it off and make it look like part of the game world today rather than part of the game world 5 or 10 years ago, that'd make it feel more lively. And it's a shame that we don't have that. But I do get that there are probably better things to spend developer resources on, but also these feel like a whole lot of nothing at this point.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess we move on to the next one. Liz, since I made Joe read that first one for obvious reasons, Joe.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He stole a question for Lore Watch that was supposed to be for this show.
After how many times you've stolen questions from Lore Watch for this one? Anyway,
that doesn't
Liz.
count. It's only important when you do it.
Liz, if you don't mind.
So should I read the lead into this one as well? Because this one is also kind of rude.
Yeah, go for it.
Magnificent ones and Rossi, I guess. Rude, very rude. I kid because I love you, and I have a Diablo question for you. So the whole Soulstone deal in Diablo 2, we get the 2 from Mephisto in Diablo after we beat them, and they go back in the Soulstones, and then we smash them up good on the anvil inside the fortress. But Bao was still running around inside Talrash's body, so even if Marius had brought the Soulstone, what good would it have done to break the thing? He wasn't even in it. I don't get why this is Marius's fault. That's from Paul Dragon. And I do not know. I don't know.
I've thought about this a lot. And to a certain degree, the entire mystery of Diablo 3 is based around this. So it's interesting to think about. If we had smashed the Soulstone, Ball wouldn't have had anywhere to go if we killed the Talrasha body. He was stuck in it. If you'd broken the Soulstone, he would have been stuck in it. Because we didn't break the Soulstone, because he got the Soulstone back from Marius, he essentially had a get out of death free card when he went up to raid the barbarians. And as a result of that, for all we know, some barbarian hero might have killed him, and then he just would have gotten the next guy, much like Diablo did. Remember that Diablo got killed, Alberic's body died, it reverted back to Alberic, and then the Soulstone reached out and convinced Aiden that it would be a good idea to jam that thing in his forehead. Aiden didn't go around in life just jamming things in his forehead whenever he felt like it. That wasn't just, he was being influenced by Diablo just by holding the Soulstone. That was the deal. So as long as Baal had it, he basically had the possibility of he could just grab one of his minions, because he had a bunch of human minions working for him, or do the guy that killed him even, and use their body. And now he's got a better body. I mean, it was good enough to kill him while he was in Talraj's. Now it's his. So smashing that Soulstone would have still been a setback for him, because then he would have been stuck in Talraj's body with nowhere to go if it was killed. But Marius didn't know that. And for that matter, Marius's problem wasn't that he didn't understand the plan. It was that he was just some poor ex-opium addict who'd been dragged around by one of the three prime evils because I guess he thought it was funny. My problem is, why does Diablo bring Marius with him?
Because he must be witnessed. No, I'm serious.
I don't know, though. Part of me thinks it's because Diablo himself couldn't actually take the Soulstone.
I think he couldn't, but I also think there's a certain amount of the prime evils have a sort of performative nature about them, where are they really the prime evil of that aspect if they are not observed by humans or Nephilims in this case? So like, I think there's an element of that too. Not to take away from anything that Rossi just said, because he's absolutely right, and I think his theory is very sound. But I'm going to self-promote, because that's what we can do here. I'm currently working on a list of all of our Diablo Lore Watch episodes, which would be a fantastic way for you to learn specifically about Soulstones, because we have an episode about that, actually, episode 179, where Rossi talks at length about the entire story of the Soulstones themselves. And if you wanted to maybe have a little bit more of contextual information, episode 202 and episode 203, we actually break down the story of Diablo in two different parts, of Diablo 2 in particular, where specifically how the Soulstones kind of link into everything is included in that. And, we can definitely answer your question at length here. But I mean, honestly, go listen to those episodes. They were great. Rossi did a fantastic job of recapping everything. Absolutely fantastic.
But yeah, I don't think it's Marius's fault exactly. I do think that I think somebody else should have taken that Soulstone in and gotten it good and smashed up, because I think it would have been much harder for Baal to take over and get to Mount Ariyat if he had to worry about getting killed, which he didn't, because he had his Soulstone and there was nothing anybody could do to him. Yeah. Okay. Is that it? Or are we going to answer the other question here?
Which other question?
The one that Liz didn't read, because I think she's trying to make us skip it.
Oh.
I think that's more...
I don't even know what this is.
I don't either, but someone asked Joe, so I'm not sure why they asked Joe this.
I think it's more of a pre-show topic, but Paul asked, who are the Skankin' Pickles? Or is it Skanking? And what are these pickles doing? So Skankin' Pickles is a ska band that existed from, I want to say, 1988 to 1997-ish, who routinely toured with a band called Mustard Plug on what was often called the Condiment Tour. Skanking is a type of dance that was traditionally done to reggae and ska. If you ever want to learn how to do it, go to YouTube and look up how to skank. And there is no G at the end of it. If you say it the proper way, it is skankin'. But yeah, it's hilarious, because I was literally asked the other day what skankin' was.
Like, why are people asking you this?
Because So, I mean, I've talked about this before, and just briefly, because it doesn't have anything to do with anything. Because in the 90s, I fronted a ska band, and I was really super into ska, like crazy into ska. So, like, yeah, people, I tweet about it a lot, so I'm sure that's why he asked. So thank you, Paul.
I did not know this. All right. Okay,
yeah.
Well, you're up, so.
We've all learned an important lesson today.
Yeah,
we now know what those pickles are doing. Okay. You're up, Joe. Read one of the next questions.
Sure.
I think it's the last one.
Yeah, I think this is the last one that we have really time for, and this is from Calchis. How do y'all feel about the Diablo 2 lore that was posted today? Was it stuff already known, or were there exciting new tidbits? Implications?
I think this was from last week, which is why he
Okay.
said today.
Yeah.
I think so too.
But to answer your question, it's literally lifted from the original Diablo 2 like book.
Yeah.
Like the one you got when you bought the game. It's the opposite of new stuff. It's exactly the old stuff. The reason it doesn't use the name of the character Aiden is because it didn't use the name of the character back then.
Correct.
We didn't know his name until much later.
Yep.
Like they did straight up never said what his name was. So there was nothing new about it. There's no exciting new implications. If anything, it basically just serves as a primer for people who've never heard of this game before. I don't know who those people are. Like I don't know how you could not know what Diablo 2 is, but yet play video games. I feel like there's a 5-year-old out there whose only exposure is like, I can't even think of a really good gacha game that 5-year-olds play. In fact, I don't think there are any. There's a kid who's got a Tamagotchi who literally just got it and he doesn't know.
There are people who don't know what Tamagotchi is. We are that old.
Yeah. Well, they're back though. They're back. They came back. They're cool now. It's like Pogs. They're back.
Pogs will never be back.
But regardless, there are people out there who have no idea what video games are who know what Diablo is. But at the same time, you don't want to assume that anybody coming to a game is like has read all the books and can sit there and do a 25-minute discussion about soul stones on a podcast. Some people are like, yeah, give me the presses. I just want to know what I'm supposed to be doing here. Killing demons. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm good. Let's go. So I think that's why they just gave you the original lore. That's all it is.
I do think it's fair to say that a lot of people have never played the original version of Diablo 2. I mean, we are into a new generation of gamers right now, and I have heard from plenty of people who are playing it now who never touched it.
I think it's deeply unfair of you to remind me that there are people who live and play video games right now who weren't even alive when this game came out.
I'm sorry. Accurate. I mean, it makes me feel old also, but it is true. There are a lot of people out here who never played Diablo. And one thing I know we've talked about on shows in the past is video games don't come with manuals anymore.
Nope,
this was printed in the original Diablo manual, and so you would be like installing the game from CDs or floppy disks.
And while you were waiting, you would read the book.
Yeah, you would be reading the manual, and so you would read this cool Diablo lore while the game was installing off physical media onto your PC, and that is not an experience we have anymore. So you kind of have to publish this stuff online.
Yeah.
And
sometimes games actually put it like in the download thing. Like when you're downloading the game or whatever, it's actually sometimes there. And what's really interesting about that is games download so much faster now. Mm-hmm. Even if you were completely downloading this game from online, like it's so much faster than it used to be to install that they have to run it through it really fast. Like technology moves on, and a lot of stuff that we used to do completely doesn't exist anymore. So that's yes, I'm agreeing with you.
I also think it's kind of important for the old school Diablo players because it confirms that none of the lore of Diablo 2 has changed. There's nothing getting retconned or shifted around in any way, because we know at some point in the future we're getting Diablo Immortal, which is going to cover the story between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. But now we know for sure that the story of Diablo 2 that we thought we knew is in fact the story of Diablo 2. There's nothing different here.
All right. Anything else to add to that topic?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, then I'm going to go ahead and do our outro then. So Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means this podcast signing community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, the better chance at having your question answered on our podcast or the queue, and an ads-free site experience. And as a reminder, all of us at Blizzard Watch stand with the employees of Activision Blizzard in demanding change for a better working environment and, well, a safer working environment as well.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I think that's something that we really need to see some movement on. It's been almost 2 months. I think, it's been over 2 months at this point. But thank you guys for being here with us. Thanks you for letting us talk about these various games that we all love. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast, and we'll be back next week.
And those pickles be skanking.